So do aircraft technicians ever run across problems that we cannot figure out right off the bat? Yes, it happens quite often actually. So how do we approach complicated issues as far as troubleshooting goes? So what I've learned over the years I've been in this industry is that when a problem arises and you don't know what's going on right off the bat, there are several paths you can go down. The first thing that you would want to do is, so we have several resources, right? We have the AMM, which is the Aircraft Maintenance Manual. We have a System Description Manual, and we have a Schematic Manual. And each of these manuals can tell us different things about how a system works. So what's an example? Let's say that let's just give an example. Let's say like the flaps and slats won't retract for whatever reason. You put the handle down to lower the flaps and slats, and it just does not work. So, and let's say it's an airplane that you never worked on the flaps and slats before. So what I would do to start is I would pull up the System Description Manual, and I would read about all of the systems that are involved with the flaps and slats, because there's several different systems. There's electrical, there's hydraulics, and they all interconnect generally. There's also systems on the aircraft itself that can help you troubleshoot, or at least I guess I could say point you in a direction, such as, like, you can do we call it a bite check, which is a built-in test. And you can perform a built-in test on the flap and slat system, and if it's as simple as a computer that is malfunctioning, it could tell you which computer that is, and then that is a possible direction you can go, is just changing out the control unit for the flap and slats. Sometimes also the flaps and slats have two controllers, so if one fails, the other one will still take over the system and allow you to actuate the flaps. So one thing we can do from a troubleshooting perspective is swap the boxes and see if that causes the other box to fail, and then that would tell us that LRU is bad. Another thing we can do is check wiring on the airplane by checking continuity. We can use a Megger and check to see if there's a possible short or an open in the wire or a short in the wire, to see if maybe that's causing something. There could be something rigged incorrectly. So there's AMM references on how to check the rig of the flaps and slats. So that's another thing that we could check to see if possibly that's what's causing the malfunction. There's sensors that tell you what position the flaps and slats are in, and if one of those sensors may have gone bad, that can prevent the whole system from operating in general. And then sometimes there's also built-in tests to check those sensors, and so the airplane itself could tell us that a sensor is bad, and then that can send us down the direction to change the sensor. There's also something called a fault isolation manual, to where it'll just give you a generic rundown of certain systems to check for in a certain order, and then if there's truly nothing else that is obvious or that we think we want to try, we could just pull up the fault isolation manual and just go down that, which that can be really time consuming though, because there's an incredible amount of systems that are involved with the flaps and slats. But there's always something you can do, and some of these systems are very complicated, but that is one of the cool parts about this job, is that you are trying to figure out exactly what's wrong, and a lot of times it's not obvious whatsoever. So troubleshooting is definitely a cool part of this job.